Hello everyone and welcome to my hardcore class picking guide. In this guide I'm gonna go through the positive and the negative things about each class. So leveling things, but also at max level, and some of the good spells that will have an impact on how fast you can level but also avoid a death. I've added a timeline so you can easily skip to the class that you're looking for. Anyway, enjoy the video. So the first class in this guide is the Mage. A Mage is amazing at leveling. You can easily solo, but also kill multiple targets at the same time. And even at low level, you get spells like Frost Nova, but also a sheep. And with Polymorph, well, you can easily go into caves, loot different items, and re-sheep and go back out. Honestly, mages have so many different abilities as you level up, and the higher the level, the more abilities you get to survive. When I level a mage, I usually stick to the Frost talent tree. With this talent tree, you get even more survivability, you get more damage with your AoE spells, but you also get a higher amount of single target damage. As a mage, you can also conjure your own water and food, so in the end, you can save a lot of gold, and you can also help other people by trading this. When I level a mage, I like to use AoE abilities to kill more targets at the same time, as this is an efficient way to level. However, it can also be extremely dangerous, as you usually take a lot of damage if you make a mistake. In most cases, you might even end up dying if you go and you can't blink away. So if this is going to be the first time that you're going to attempt to level a mage, well, then I highly recommend you not to AoE farm. It requires some practice to perfect this. However, as a mage at max level, you can also make a ton of gold with AoE farming, simply because you can kill so many targets and this will grant you a high amount of gold. So what I usually do if I just single target is to use my Frostbolt, my Cone of Cold and Frost Nova, and then I usually just sheep the other target to avoid some damage. But honestly, mages is amazing at kiting, and if you make a mistake, you can usually just reset. You can Frost Nova, blink away, or use your Ice Block, then Frost Nova and blink away. In my opinion, mages is one of the best classes to level solo wise. You have so many different things to do to recover if you make a mistake, and you can easily kite targets and get away. On top of this, mages also perform great against casters, as you have a counterspell that will interrupt the cast. So if you're looking for a class that is easy to level, who can kill many targets at the same time and farm a ton of gold, who is recommended in dungeon groups, and of course a class that can get away if you make a mistake to avoid a death, well then the Mage is definitely the class for you. The last thing I like about the Mage is that you unlock teleports but also portals as you level up. And these teleports and portals will take you to different main cities. The portals is for your friendly party and the teleports is for yourself. The next class on this list is the Hunter. Definitely also an easy class to level up. However, from level 1 to 10 you don't have a pet, so it's going to be a bit more difficult. You're pretty much just gonna run and shoot, and if you get into melee combat, you're going to do a lot less damage. Therefore, I highly recommend you not to try to kill more than one target at a time from level 1 to 10. When you get to level 10, everything turns out to be a lot more fun. Now you finally get your Hunter quest, where you will eventually learn how to tame a pet. And when you unlock this pet, it's going to be a lot more fun to level and a lot easier as well. One thing I highly recommend you to learn is to make sure you master your pet control. If you don't manage to control your pet the right way, then you could accidentally pull a lot of monsters, and if you do dungeons with other people, well then this could cause a death, and yeah, you have to restart your character. As you level up your character, you will slowly also gain access to more important spells, and these spells will definitely help your chance to make it all the way up to level 60. For example, the Freezing Trap that works as a CC, or your Feign Death, where you pretend to be dead. Just make sure that you know that this spell can be resisted, so sometimes they will continue to attack you, even though you use Feign Death. So make sure not to use it when you're at like 5 or 10% health, in case it gets resisted. On top of this, the Hunter also gains access to different aspects. Each aspect does something individual. There's one that increases your dodge, one that increases your range attack power, and one that increases your movement speed. So as you see right here, I increase my movement speed, and this allows me to kite the targets even easier. Then I can apply a concussive shot to slow them, and I can always use Feign Death. but because I'm so far away, and if the feign death get resisted, then I don't have to worry because I can just continue running without dying. So the Hunter is another class with many different opportunities to make it away successfully. You do a high amount of single target damage, it's easy to level and also super fast to level, pretty much one of the fastest levelers in the game, just like the Mage. Now that I'm already talking about classes that is easy to level and who can get away successfully without dying, well then I have to cover the Rogue too. The Rogue have so many different abilities to CC and stop a target. One of the first spells that I need to highlight is Zap. Zap allow you to CC a target for a high amount of seconds, and this is also extremely useful in different dungeons. So if there's two difficult targets that you need to kill and they're stacked together, then you could always zap one of them and kill the other one, reset the fight and kill the last target. As a rogue, you also have evasion. This increases your dodge chance for many seconds, and you even have sprint that increases your movement speed. You can also use a gouge. This will gouge the target for around 3 to 4.5 seconds, and meanwhile you can just run away and reset the fight. As a rogue, you also have two different stun abilities, one that can be used when you're stealthed, and the other one, Kidney Shot. Kidney Shot can be used when you have combo points. The more combo points, the higher duration the stun is. So here's an example of how powerful your CC is as a rogue, and how easily you can get away when you pull multiple targets. On top of this, I also have Blind. This will blind the target for 10 seconds and turn it disorientated. Meanwhile, I can always just sprint away, and if there's other targets, then I can use my gouge. But if I make an even bigger mistake, then don't worry, we have yet another overpowered spell. Vanish. Vanish will simply turn me into stealth in combat. When you level up a rogue, you will mainly be doing single target damage. If you level as a combat rogue, you will eventually unlock more abilities to kill more than one target at the same time. Overall, the leveling speed of a rogue isn't that fast. You're definitely not going to be one of the first persons to hit 60, or maybe you actually are, simply because of your cooldowns and how easily you can make it away successfully without dying. In fact, many classes struggle with the ability to get away if they make a mistake, or if there's something they haven't really counted on, for example fast respawns. This is not the case with the rogue, so this class is a good choice for those of you who will be playing hardcore for the first time. Next on this list is the Shaman. And yeah, I guess this is quite common, but in Classic you can only play Shaman as Horde. So for those of you who would like to level as a Shaman, this is going to be a fun time. You can do range and melee damage, and the moment you get low health, well then you can heal. What's also quite amazing is that you can use a one-hand weapon and a shield at the same time, making the Shaman quite tanky in melee fights. On top of this, you also get access to different kind of totems: air, fire, water and earth totems. You even gain access to the fire totem quite early in the game, allowing you just to spawn this, use your shock abilities and your earth shield, and now you should be able to take down the enemies quite easily. So what other cool abilities do you gain access to as a Shaman? Well, underwater breathing, water walking and even a ghost wolf. When you're in Ghost Wolf, you will increase your movement speed by 40%, making the Shaman so insane from level 20 to 40 when most other classes has nothing that increases their movement speed. In the enhancement tree, you can also spend 2 talent points in Ghost Wolf, reducing the cast time and almost making this instantly. Spending these 2 talent points can be quite useful for when you level up. It allows you to kite a lot easier, but also make an emergency exit in next to no time, especially if you combine it together with an Earthbind totem. When I level up, I also like to use Frost Shock. This will reduce the movement speed of the target, but also do some damage, allowing the Shaman to just run around in a circle and kiting the enemy forever, or well, until it's dead. You can even kite elite targets by doing this method, and you can always combine it with an Earthbind totem and a Fire totem. That way you do even more damage, and in case the target resists your Frost Shock, then the Earthbind totem will apply a slow. However, even though totems are quite amazing at max level and when you level up, then they can also be a death trap. What I mean with this is that if you forget to unsummon a totem or remove it, well then it could accidentally pull an elite or many targets at the same time, causing you to end up dying. So always pay attention to where you place your totems and if there's a nearby enemy. One big benefit of a Shaman is that you get extra recall. This allows you to use an additional Heartstone every 15 minutes, making the Shaman amazing when you level up, because you can just go back and forward in between quest areas and hand them in next to no time. So a Shaman is quite easy to level, and at max level you're definitely welcome in dungeons and raids, no matter if you like to DPS or heal. If I compare the survivability of this class, then I feel like it's better to play Rogue, Hunter or Mage, simply because you have more tools or spells that allow you to get away without dying. But Shaman is still a good choice with your totems, your slow effects, Ghost Wolf, and of course your heals. Next on this list is the Warrior, a class that can be quite difficult to level if you don't know what you're doing and how you can avoid taking damage and take advantage of different things to get you back into combat even faster. If you're going to level this class, then you gotta be aware of that you will most of the time just be single target damaging, simply because at lower level you don't have access to much cleave damage. And because you have no heals, then it could also be deadly if you decide to fight 2 or 3 enemies at the same time. Alright, so if you're going to play a hardcore warrior, then I would highly recommend you to get an add-on that indicates your next swing timer. What you also gotta do is to level up first aid. So if you have some rage and you're out of combat, then you could use your blood rage to get in combat and to get more rage, and then first aid at the same time. That way you can get back into fight even faster. What you might also notice is that I use a swing timer. Well, not right now as an add-on, but what I do is to go into melee fight, apply a hamstring, run out, and go back in the next time I can do another melee swing. That way I avoid a lot of damage. If you don't do this and you stand still, then the enemy will hit you a lot of times compared to the next time you hit the enemy. So as you level up your warrior, you also slowly gain access to more cleave damage, or well, some cooldowns you can apply. This will allow the warrior to finally do some cleave damage and kill more than one target at a time, but this is not something you can do every single pull. Therefore, the warrior isn't that fast to level, but definitely a fun class to play later on. You also gain access to many different abilities that will allow you to get away without dying. So the first spell you always need to make sure you use is Hamstring. When you accidentally pull more than one target, then you could use this to slow them and run away. And later on you also get Intercept, a charge you can use in combat. So if there's a nearby enemy, then you can intercept this target to get even more distance from the other enemies, apply a hamstring and run away. What you can also do is to use Intimidating Shout. This is a shout that will fear the current target and some nearby enemies. Just remember, when these are feared, then they might accidentally pull more enemies. Talking about pulling, then it's so important that you don't charge in when there's more than one enemy. Instead, get a ranged weapon or a throw and pull that way. If you decide to body pull, then remember to always have some cooldowns if you pull more than 2 targets. This could for example be Shield Wall that reduces your damage taken. Also equip a shield and maybe even use Shield Block, allowing the warrior to have a way higher chance of surviving and making it away without dying. So what is my opinion as a warrior on a hardcore server? If you make it all the way up to level 60, you'll get gear in next to no time. Many people need warriors to tank the dungeons, and when you tank as a warrior, you can still collect DPS items. The leveling will be a bit slower compared to some of the other classes, so remember to level up your first aid and bring a lot of food. Next on this list is the Priest, a class that cannot be that fun to level because you just use 2 or 3 abilities. But at max level, you're going to have a fun time either as a DPS or a healer. So if you're going to level a Priest, then I highly recommend you to also level Enchanting in the beginning. This allows you to craft different wands, and this will increase your leveling speed by a lot. With a good wand, you can just apply a Shadow Word Pain, and then you use your wand, sometimes applying a shield to reduce the damage that you take. But overall, it's just gonna be spam your wand and your dots. So even though it might not be that entertaining to level a Priest, then there's going to be a lot of different things you can use to survive. Many different heals, a shield, and heal over time. And in case you pull too many enemies, then you can always use your fear to get away. If I'm going to level a hardcore priest at some point, then I will definitely try to do this with either some other people at the same time, or maybe even do dungeons. I feel like that way it's going to be a lot more fun to play the class from level 1 to 60. But if you decide to solo level, then when you reach level 40, I highly recommend you to swap to Shadow Priest, probably even a bit before. This allows you to get some more spells that you can use and kill the targets even faster. So why should you choose to level a priest? Well, a priest is going to be mandatory for raids, and in dungeons they're also quite powerful. You have access to many different heals, single target and AoE wise. A priest can also dispel different CCs with their dispel magic, and you also have different buffs that will increase the stamina and spirit of the party and raid members. One thing you need to be aware of if you choose to play this class is that you'll mainly be healing in dungeons and raids, simply because Shadow Priest doesn't do that much damage. The Warlock is the last cloth caster type on this list. An amazing solo leveler, and you get a lot of benefits when you level from level 1 to 60. You can easily kill more than one target at the same time, either by applying dots or doing single target damage. And when everything turns bad, or if you just want to chill level without really focusing that much, then you spam your fear and your dots on the target. And whenever you get low on mana, you just use your life tab to convert life, or well, health, into mana. And then you drain some more life from the enemy, and that way you can just continue going forever. And honestly, you can do this quite early in the game. And as your character progresses, this just gets even better, because you slowly unlock more abilities to do more damage over time and higher single target damage. And you also get an AoE fear and other CCs. On top of this, you also unlock new pets, and one of these, the White Walker, will function as a tank. So you can just send in your pet, and this will tank the enemies while you kill them. So is a Warlock a better class compared to the Hunter for solo leveling with a pet? In my opinion, I definitely feel like a Warlock is better. You can drain life, so in combat you have a way to regen health. As a Hunter, yeah, you have feign death, but if this is resisted, it can also be quite deadly. As a Warlock, you can always just try to fear, and then your pet can tank. One of the biggest benefits of choosing a Warlock is that you can learn your level 40 mount at the trainer. Or well, you will need to do a small quest chain, and when you have done this, well, then you learn your mount for free. Other classes will need to pay a lot of gold, and at level 40 they will most likely not be able to get their mount. As a Warlock, this is not the case. So a class that get a free level 40 mount, who can level amazingly easy from level 1 to 60, who do great at level 60 when it comes to DPS in different dungeons and raids, and a class that also provides different benefits. For example, the Health Stone, an item you can conjure and trade to other people. When they use this, they restore some health. You can also cast Underwater Breathing, allowing the person to breathe underwater. And like it wasn't enough, you also have your Ritual of Summoning. This will allow the player to summon other players to the Warlock's location. You just need to make sure you have 2 other friendly players nearby who can help you summon. So what is the next class on this list? Well, why not choose a class that also get a level 40 mount for free? The Paladin. So what is a Paladin? Well, a Paladin is a class that can either tank, DPS, but also heal. So a class that can do pretty much everything. Whenever I level a Paladin, then I always do this with a 2-hand weapon and as retribution. You level way faster this way compared to playing a Holy or a Protection Paladin. As a Paladin, you can outlevel most classes early on, so from level 1 to around 20 or 30. The good thing about a Paladin is that you have so many different things to assist yourself. You can also stun targets, heal, and even use a bubble that prevents you from taking damage. And how I usually level is just by running and attacking the monsters as I'm running. That way I get to a new location a lot faster, I don't have to stand still and kill the target. And by doing this, you also really never go out of mana, so you can just continue fighting forever. The most overpowered thing is that you can always have a second chance. What I mean is that you can use your Divine Shield and then your Heartstone to get away. Of course, this all depends on your hardcore challenge. Some hardcore challenges doesn't allow this, while others allow you to do this combination. So why should you choose to play a Paladin? Well, at max level you can play as everything. And trust me, everything even works. It's not like you're forced to play healer or tank. You also provide different buffs that you can cast on yourself and party members. This increases their mana regen, their attack power, or reducing their threat. You can also cleanse them for different poisons, but also spells. You can stun a target, and you can cast a bubble on yourself or party member to prevent them from dying. So a class that in other words work as a support, who can do everything and who gets a free level 40 mount. What's not to like? The last one on this list is the Druid, yet another class that can also do everything. Tanking, healing, and DPS. If you decide to play a Druid, then you gotta know that from level 1 to 10, it's going to be a grind. You're going to go out of mana most of the times, because you're just going to be casting a few spells, but they're not doing that much damage. However, when you make it all the way up to level 10, then you start unlocking your first form. You just need to go to the Druid trainer and do a small quest chain. And then you unlock your bear form. Now you will do a lot of damage in melee, and this will make your level even faster. When you get low health, you just go out of form, then you can root the enemy, heal yourself, and go back into bear form. Super easy to level like this. When you reach level 20, you now unlock a cat form, allowing you to do more damage in melee. However, you also take more damage, so if you're used to all the health, but also the armor from the bear form, then you gotta know that you all of a sudden take a bit more damage. One big benefit of unlocking cat form is that you get the ability Prowl. This will turn you invisible, and now you can easily pass monsters, but also get to difficult areas where you need to loot an object. And when you reach level 30, you also unlock yet another form, Travel Form. This is an instant form where you move with additional 40% movement speed. This allows the Druid to easily escape a difficult situation. And remember, this form is instantly, so it's way better compared to Ghost Wolf as a Shaman. By the time you reach level 40, and if you have decided to level as a balanced Druid, then you unlock Moonkin Form. A form that increases your armor by a lot, so when you're in melee, you won't take that much damage. As a Moonkin Druid, you do a high amount of spell damage. What I usually do if I pull 2 enemies is just to root one of them. The other one I'll use Moonfire, Starfire, and Wrath on. Just remember that if you used to level as a Feral Druid, and when you reach level 40 you decide to swap to Moonkin, well then you might lack a lot of gear with Intellect and Spirit. And to be honest, if you just want to speed level or will get to 60 as fast as possible, then I highly recommend you to stay as a Feral Cat form. So what are the benefits of choosing a Druid? Well, like I mentioned in the beginning, you can play as all specializations. You can level as these, but also play them at max level. It's a class that is easy to level and who is highly recommended to dungeon farm with at level 60, but also to bring into raids. Like it wasn't enough, a Druid also provides different CCs. You have your Entangling Root that roots an enemy, and your Hibernate that you can cast on a beast to sleep them. You can also buff your party with Thorns. You also have your Mark of the Wild. This is a buff that increases the target's armor, attributes, and resistance. And of course Tranquility, an AoE heal that heals your party members. You can also remove any curses and even abolish poisons. Hopefully this guide has helped you decide what class you should play on your next hardcore journey. I've also made different class guides with what talents you should choose from level 1 to 60 to level efficiently, how your rotation should be at max level, the best gear you can get in the first phase, and a lot of other things. And those videos you can also find on my channel. As always, thank you so much for watching and have an amazing day. Peace!